Today, we are diving deep into one of the greatest detective stories in the history of science. It's a centuries-long quest to uncover the hidden building blocks of life itself.
Seriously, think about that. If you could go back in time and ask a scientist that question, you know what they'd say? They'd have no idea.
For basically all of human history, the idea that our bodies are made of trillions of tiny, living units was, well, it was completely unimaginable. We just didn't have the technology to see them.
But, every good mystery needs a first clue. And that clue came not from some brilliant new idea, but from a revolutionary new tool. The case was about to get blown wide open.
Okay, so let's look at how the first clues started rolling in. It all kicks off in 1590 when the Johnson brothers, who were lens grinders, put a couple of lenses in a tube and basically invented the first compound microscope. This one invention set off a chain reaction. Suddenly, Robert Hooke could see and name cells, and then Anton van Leeuwenhoek saw tiny, living things swimming around. It was just this incredible cascade of discovery.
So the first major breakthrough, the first real piece of evidence in our case, came from an English scientist who decided to point this new gadget at something superordinary.
So back in 1665, Robert Hooke slices a super thin piece of cork and puts it under his microscope, and what he sees are all these tiny box-like compartments. Now, he wasn't looking at anything alive. Cork is just dead plant tissue. But the name he gave them, cells, because they looked like the small rooms monks lived in, well, that name stuck.
And this right here, this image, gives us a window into that exact moment. For the very first time, a person was seeing the hidden architecture of life. It wasn't just a blob of stuff. It was organized, it had a pattern, and it was completely invisible to us until that day. So Hooke found the first glue, but it was really just one piece of a giant puzzle. It would take another 150 years and a whole new team of scientists to figure out how all these pieces fit together into one grand theory.
So, a new team of detectives takes the case. You've got Matthias Schleiden, who's looking at plants. You've got Theodor Schwann, who's looking at animals. And they both have this aha moment. Everything they're looking at is made of cells. Then, a little later, Rudolf Virchow comes along and adds the final, crucial piece to the puzzle.
And all their work together leads to what we now call the cell theory. This isn't just some small idea. It is one of the most important foundational concepts in all of science. It's basically the rule book for how life works.
And here they are, the 3 rules that became the bedrock of modern biology. 1. All living things are made of cells. Pretty simple. 2. The cell is the basic unit of life. Got it? And then number 3, which was a huge deal, cells can only come from other cells. This one idea completely destroyed the centuries-old belief that life could just, poof, appear out of nowhere.
Okay, so now scientists knew cells existed, but the next big mystery was, what's going on inside them? And to solve that one, they were going to need a much, much more powerful toolkit.
The key to unlocking the secrets inside the cell was a massive leap in power. As you can see right here, the good old optical microscopes, the ones that use light, they just hit a wall at about 1,000 times magnification. To go deeper, scientists had to ditch light completely and start using something new, electrons.
And I want you to just think about that jump. We're not talking 2 times more powerful or even 10 times. We're talking up to 500,000 times stronger. The transmission electron microscope, or TEM, gave us that power. And suddenly, the inside of a cell wasn't some mystery box anymore. We could finally see the tiny engines, the organelles, that make the whole thing run.
And then, by the 1990s, things get really wild. We developed the scanning tunneling microscope, which is just mind-blowing. It lets scientists create these 3-dimensional images of individual atoms. We went from seeing small rooms to seeing the literal bricks they're built from.
So with these incredibly powerful new tools, scientists could finally start sorting and categorizing all the different types of cells they were finding. And they discovered that all the incredible diversity of life on Earth is actually built on just 2 basic designs.
And here they are. It turns out all life is built on one of 2 blueprints, prokaryotic or eukaryotic. The easiest way to think about it is this. A prokaryotic cell is like a simple, efficient studio apartment. Everything's just kind of floating around in one open space. A eukaryotic cell, on the other hand, is more like a huge mansion, with a central office, that's the nucleus, to keep the important documents, the DNA, and then all these other specialized rooms, or organelles, each with its own specific job.
And this image shows you exactly what I mean. On the left, you've got that simpler prokaryotic cell. But look at the eukaryotic cell on the right.
See all those different compartments and structures inside? And right there in the middle, you can see that big nucleus, where all the genetic blueprints are kept safe. It's the difference between that simple studio and the sprawling mansion.
So what this really means is that this one simple division separates the entire living world into two massive groups. On one side, you have the tiny single-celled powerhouses like bacteria, and on the other, you have all the complex, multicellular life you see all around you. Plants, fungi, animals, and yep, you. You are a walking, talking community of eukaryotic cells.
So when you step back and look at it, in just a few hundred years, we went from complete ignorance to figuring out the three fundamental rules of life, and then identifying its two basic designs. And all of it was driven by that simple, powerful human desire to see what was hidden just beyond the edge of our vision.
And that really brings us to today. This whole journey makes you wonder, doesn't it? As our tools get even more powerful, what other huge mysteries are we on the verge of solving right now? What other invisible worlds are just sitting there waiting for us to find them?